Today on RPG Horror Stories, we have a railroading DM who retcons entire roleplay sessions that he himself extended way too long. Without further ado, let's get started. This one is a doozy. Very long, consists of a lot of red flags my party should have seen long ago, and this was my first real campaign. Here are some important characters. The DM, we'll call him Tom, me, Paladin, Wizard, Fighter, Rogue, Z, and Druid. He's not mentioned, but he was there. Our story will begin when we are well into the campaign, after some players left. We were looking for some people to join, and this is where Paladin and Rogue were added. Rogue was one of my friends, and apparently Tom, the DM, knew Paladin from a prior campaign and invited him as a player here. Paladin was a pretty neat character, a guy trapped in armor after being saved by the Wild Mother, who had a terrible, dark past which turned him cold and emotionless, and his moral compass was a little skewed. But the player is an incredible role player and added a lot to our party, interaction and roleplay wise. This is important to the story. Rogue was there too. Our party and new friends were heading to a town to investigate some drugs or cults or something based in Matt Mercer's world. In a story Tom spent years on and was his personal novel. Okay, that's a red flag. Our wizard was a little fluffball, and over the journey became very close to Paladin, and the party started getting along. Then we meet Mr. DMNPC, an edgy undead guy who was brought back by his god to get revenge on the even also undead headless horseman that killed him. It was on our way, so we agreed to help him. After a short while, we find this dude and his two lackeys. Time to roll initiative. There was a lot of focused fire on the mini BBEG, but after not even one round of combat, he was almost dead. My character went to kill him, and the DM instantly yelled, "No, he's mine!" I was taken aback, after not expecting to be yelled at, and changed my target. In comes Paladin. Because this was over Discord, apparently he hadn't heard the DM and his character went for the killing blow. Tom, the DM, was not happy. We quickly disposed of the rest, and afterwards the DM NPC went on an angry rant about, "I can never rest now, I didn't get my revenge, I was supposed to kill him, how dare you," and all that stuff to Paladin. Let's just say the session ended there a little bit awkwardly. Around this time, in the background, Tom was messaging other members of the group about how he hated Paladin's character, and he was sick of the dude playing him. It felt wrong, and all of us were in contact with one another, so we let Paladin know. But it was obvious this would get worse based on the way Tom was treating him, especially with what happens next. This leads up to everything spiraling. Fast forward a few weeks, we went to the town and saved it from one of the bad guys, having a few minor clashes between the DM, Tom, and Paladin, also known as Paladin not liking one of the NPCs because he was an asshole that no one liked, but he was the chosen one. DM also purposefully killed NPCs to punish us for not going fast enough to find them, and then cussed us out for not saving them. Stuff like that. Tension just kept mounting. Now to the big bad session. One of our characters, who had been there since day one, Z, was a nurse in real life and had to leave. He called my character and Paladin to a rooftop and we had a dramatic goodbye. So already we had high emotions. Paladin was feeling abandoned by the Wild Mother just when he was feeling comfortable and had friends who he trusted and got along with. One of them leaves. We all go about the town, doing some stuff. Some went to the temple to pray, some went around the town center, but Paladin went out to the woods. He chose a random tree, he was specific for it to be totally random, and just started whacking it with his sword to vent some emotions. Just some solo RP time for Paladin. Or so we thought. Paladin just wanted to beat up a tree. But now, this tree is alive and saying the Wild Mother is disappointed in him for doing this to one of her creations. Paladin is angry that this is the only time she would speak to him. He told her how he's suffering and miserable and wants to know if what he's doing is right. The Wild Mother tree thing just says she regrets bringing him back. This makes Paladin very angry and upset. He tries to cut the tree down. You know what happens next? An angel appears and says he will kill him if he doesn't stop. Paladin is stubborn and attacks around the angel to get to the tree. Does a whopping 80 some damage, not a dent. Angel downs Paladin in one hit and leaves him to let him stabilize. Thank goodness he didn't kill him. This whole time, everyone else is silent. The interaction was a few hours long in real life. Tom, the DM, leaves the voice call out of the blue, and we're all just awkwardly sitting there. Everyone is varying degrees of upset. He was gone for 2 hours, so we ended up canceling. Over text in the Discord, we all discussed maybe having a week off so everyone can cool down and come back refreshed. DM Tom is mad. He doesn't want to take this break. Paladin does want to take this break. Now it feels like choosing sides, but all the players agreed, let's just have the week off. In the meantime, myself and Fighter had a genius money-making scheme, since we were both fighter characters with military backgrounds. We served together and are close drinking buddies. We decided to start a fight rink. This was all discussed publicly in the Discord, so we weren't being sneaky about it. However, DM Tom is not happy. Tom says, "That's illegal in my city. You'd get arrested. I won't let you. This isn't an evil campaign." Fighter and I, alright, we'll go through the legal process. There are legal fights every year. If we donate some of our earnings, the priests will approve, and if we get their approval, we can easily get a permit. Plus, our house is in the middle of nowhere, and with our money, we can fund and build an arena. "Fine, roll for it," says the DM. Fighter rolled high enough for Tom's randomly given DC, and he said we could try. He was not happy about it, but hey, at least he let us roll. We researched cost and everything for this. Fighter and I were so ready to start a business, or at least try. At least we had a chance. During that week, Tom sent out a random message to the group. He retconned Paladin's entire section last session, said nothing happened, and he cut down a tree and just felt sadness over the Wild Mother. On top of that retcon, Tom stripped Paladin of all his divine powers. Paladin is not happy because all that time was wasted for pretty much nothing. Now at this point, we were all sort of unhappy. We started noticing how railroady and unfair it had been up to this point, so each session was more silent and less enthusiastic than the last. I stopped taking notes. There was just a lot of drama, and Tom actively ignored Paladin and spoke over him, even if he was someone the entire party respected and appreciated. And now, Fighter and I decided to start our business. We went to the temple and talked to the priest, and we had all these legal questions and such. We were negotiating percentages and all that. Priest demanded 50% of earnings go to the temple and 40% to charity. Fighter and I get 10% to split. We didn't like that, so we kept negotiating. The priest insisted he would only let us do it if we used their temple, and we insisted we had our own place, and 50% to rent a place was a bit crazy. We were not going to rent the temple, no way. We literally went back and forth with the priest for hours, and by going back and forth with the priest, that obviously means going back and forth with the DM, so yay. He got so mad at us, he told us he would never allow it, and that we were never allowed to come back, and he stormed off, leaving Fighter and I speechless. DM Tom was angry in real life as well, and with a "you guys are really pissing me off," he left the voice call. That was his favorite line, I can almost hear it now. He came back an hour later, and guess what? I retcon everything that just happened. You two went to the temple, spoke to the head priest, and he said he wouldn't back it at all and left. Yes, he retconned hours of roleplay just to give us the same thing that happened. I figured if he didn't want us to do it, he could have just, I don't know, done it differently? suggested opening a pub? I'm not sure. Now, half the group is feeling terrible. As a party, we decided our weekly D&D was no longer something we looked forward to. We all kind of dreaded it. It lost all the fun. It felt like there was no creative room left. So all of us decided to leave together and find a new DM to take us in. We believed we all worked together really well, and over the almost year of this, we were all pretty close. And we did just that. We found a new DM and we broke it to Tom that we were all leaving in a long message explaining the reasons and that we felt like it just didn't fit with his style of DMing. He sent one response. That speaks for itself. He left the Discord and blocked everyone. So thanks for reading my brief overview of my first bad D&D experience. There's so much more, including possible grooming of an underage party member. Whoa. Okay. We also learned every single party he has DM'd for has left his games after only a few months, and we were the only group to stick with him for this long. Hope you all liked it. TLDR, bad DM retcon scenes, cusses at PCs, has it out for one guy in particular, railroads, and gets mad at everyone when he kills his own NPCs. All the players finally decide to leave, and the DM blocks everyone. Once again, a story with a lot going on, but let's address issues that I haven't addressed before. Starting with DMNPCs. This DM has a couple of them, clearly. Look, there's nothing wrong with having powerful characters in your campaign. That's part of the world, especially at low levels. Look at Critical Role, for example. In Campaign 1, Allura Vysoren was more powerful than the party for a while until they leveled up. That's fine. You wouldn't call Allura Vysoren a DM NPC. A DM NPC becomes what they are when it's clear that the DM is trying to insert their own player character, a character that does things cooler than the party. That is wrong. I have characters in my campaign that work with the party as allies. However, I go out of my way to make sure that they're not doing most of the work. They're not even doing half the work. In fact, they're doing the minority of the work. They are helping the party. They're assisting. They're not necessarily good at the things the party are good at. For example, they work with a supernatural assassin who really struggles in open combat. She's effective at killing nobles and normal people, but when facing down a huge monster, she's really just the help. The party are pulling the weight. That's how you avoid a DM NPC. DM NPCs also tend to be the main characters. Look at the example here with this undead guy who wants to get his revenge. That's a driving plot that focuses around an NPC rather than a plot that focuses around the player characters. This is almost always bad. NPCs can have character arcs, but the story shouldn't focus on them, and you certainly shouldn't encourage your players to focus on an NPC rather than their own characters, you know, the ones that they made themselves. I believe I've said this before, but if I haven't, I'll say it now. Railroading is really, really bad. Don't do it. Directing players and forcing players are two very, very, very different things. Part of D&D is the freedom of choice. Once you take that away, you might as well not be playing D&D anymore. The characters and players' ability to do what they want is important. Now, of course, I understand that you have a plot set up, you have a world that you've built, and you don't want your players to tread all over it. I get that, and having talks with your players outside of your game can really help with that, but forcing them along your path and retconning when things don't go your way is really, really bad. Though, I think that does go without saying. Okay, I think that's going to wrap it up for today. If you guys enjoyed this episode of RPG Horror Stories, then please do hit that like button. If you want to see more episodes of this series, as well as my other series, Tabletop Tavern Tips, then please do hit that subscribe button. And finally, if you want to leave your own stories or thoughts, go to the comments down below. In essence, like, comment, subscribe. I will see you all next time. Farewell.